So I'm Mark Lewis. I'm the president and CEO of the Purdue Applied Research Institute. And it's my privilege to moderate this morning's panel. If I can say a few words about what we do at PARI. So PARI was created by Purdue as a limited liability company, wholly owned by Purdue, and the goal was to leverage the vast resources of the university in some key areas of technology, including sensitive classified work. We've got cleared people working on campus. And we focus in a couple of key technology areas, microelectronics, energetic materials, nuclear, defense infrastructure, and of course, my beloved field of hypersonics. Very proud to be part of the Indiana National Defense ecosystem. And PARI could not have been possible without the support of government partners, including NSWC Crane, industry partners, including General Electric and Rolls-Royce, and the incredible support that we've gotten from our delegation. Congressman Banks and his amazing team have been absolutely instrumental in our success. So thank you for all of your support. Joining me on the stage today, and let's see, I think I've got my back to you. That's a little bit rude, so let me see if I can slide this a little bit. Joining me on the stage is an amazing panel of experts who are going to talk about their companies, their roles in Indiana, and how they play into this Indiana defense ecosystem. John Chadbourne is here. He's the Executive Vice President for AM General. John had a 30-year career as a logistics officer in the United States Army. In addition to his work at AM General, he serves on the National Defense Industrial Association Board of Directors, and that's near and dear to my heart because that was my previous employer before coming to Purdue. John Shade, who's the Executive Vice President for Defense Business Development and Future Programs for Rolls-Royce, is also joining us. John basically leads the storied Rolls-Royce North American Technologies, also known as Liberty Works, which has made so many important contributions to propulsion and power. Rob Mitrevski is the Vice President General Manager for Spectral Solutions, part of L3Harris. And he joined L3Harris when his company was when the company acquired Excelis in 2015. So reflecting on some of the mergers and acquisitions that we just heard Chris talk about. And then let me kick off by asking each one of our panel members in order to tell us a little bit about what they do and why it's important in national defense. And if you want to tell us why it's so important that you do it in Indiana, that would be wonderful as well. So.
All right, I guess I get to start.
Please, kick off.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you again to Congressman Banks and his staff and Purdue University for getting us all together for the third year. This is my third year here, and I can tell you I do get quite a bit out of this with how pleased I am to see industry, government, academia coming together in northeastern Indiana. I've spent a lot of my life in northeastern Indiana, very proud of what we do for the nation as a region. Certainly our company, as Chris said earlier, has been around since the 1930s, always an innovator, always a disruptor, always a pioneer, strong Midwestern values, all the things that I believe our customers really like and the reason they choose us. And it's no different today than it was when electronics was just getting started and TV was being released out into the public. We have issues that require technological advancement, innovation. In our case, it's really about the mission of protection. So we've spent a lot of time since the 1960s protecting our citizens against natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, wildfires, flash floods, et cetera, with the world's most advanced imaging from space, both at geostationary orbit, 22,000 miles away, and in low Earth orbit, somewhere nearer to 500 miles. And we've taken that technology, as Chris said, and we've now transitioned it to a different type of protection, a protection from maybe unnatural disasters, right, where our adversaries are really advancing in their capabilities of fast, maneuverable, dim targets that are hypersonic glide vehicles. And interestingly enough, the same technology, the same thought process has come into our workforce as when we did weather, and now in adjunct as a missile defense company. And look, it goes back to the same sort of approach, which is innovation, disruption, that has propelled our business and our region for many years. And I think a lot of that certainly has to do with the talent base that was discussed earlier. The talent base has existed in the Midwest for over a century. The reason Farnsworth Electronics came into the Fort Wayne region was partially because of the availability of top technical talent. 6 of the top 15 engineering schools in the nation are within 225 miles of us. That doesn't happen anywhere else in the U.S. That coupled with this Midwestern can-do attitude, the community that is very supportive of our industrial base, come together to create greatness. And I think that's where we find ourselves in solving the world's most difficult problems, like the hypersonic defense. So I'm really proud to be part of L3Harris and continue that long tradition that we have, but not dwelling on the past, looking forward to what we do now and can do going forward.
Thank you. If I can put in a personal note, by the way, so when I was in the Pentagon, Space Development Agency was one of the organizations in our office, and that mission is so incredibly important. If you can't see it, you can't kill it. And so thank you for all that you're doing to enable that, because defending against hypersonic weapons is an absolute imperative. So really appreciate that work.
Thank you.
Huh?
Hi, good morning. John Chadbourne, Executive Vice President, AM General, and third-time attendee here at the Northeast Indiana Defense Summit. I just want to start off by thanking Congressman Jim Banks and his staff for their strong leadership on defense, and I know that will continue in the Senate next year. But it's really important, as I see. I think the future is unlike the '90s when we thought defense was not going to be a big issue. I think it's only going to be a bigger issue in the next couple of decades. So, AM General, we like to make things with wheels on them. We've been around, we like to say, for about 150 years here in Indiana. Trace our roots all the way back to Studebaker, where we actually made wheeled wagon ambulances in the Civil War. Continued to make things for the warfighter through World War II, where we made the Willys Jeep. We made 2.5-ton trucks in Korea. And then in the 1980s, we came out with the iconic Humvee, which is still in service today. In fact, I've been in Ukraine twice this year, and that is their light tactical vehicle of choice as they fight the Russians. Highly capable vehicle that continues in the service and will continue for the foreseeable future in the U.S. Army. I think about a year and a half ago, we had the good fortune of winning the recompete of the JLTV A2, and I'm happy to report that after a long 16 months of building a factory, sourcing all the parts, working through a technical data package that was about 90% correct, and working through some obstacles with a incumbent that wasn't too happy that we won, that last week we rolled our first asset build down the new production, and it started. So that was good news. We will start production in November of this year, and we'll start to be pushing out JLTVs and getting them out to the warfighter early next year. So what does that mean to Indiana? Well, the downstream effect of the JLTV win, not just with our manufacturing facility in Mishawaka, Indiana, but all the suppliers that we have across Indiana, the impact will be, they think, around $1.5 billion a year just with that program win here in Indiana. So very, very proud of that. We're very, very proud of the fact that our company is focused on the warfighter. In fact, when you go into our manufacturing facility, Up on the wall are the names, we have plaques up, are the names of all of the veterans that have ever worked for AM General. And it's really something. We've got lots of Army plaques, Marines, some Coast Guard, Navy. Still don't have the Space Force veteran yet, but we're out there looking. So hopefully that will come soon. But no, really, really excited about the future of our company and the impact on Indiana, and just really, really proud to be a part of AM General. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. John.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you. So I'll start with a little bit about Rolls-Royce, a little over 40,000 employees worldwide. And I wanted to make a point that globally we have kind of what I'd call complete centers of capability in 3 countries. So these are areas where we can do design, develop, manufacture, assemble, test, produce, sustain power and propulsion for the products that we support. And the reason I bring it up is because we have that in the UK, we have that in Germany, and we have that in the US. And in the US, it's right here in Indiana. We've been here for over 100 years, back to our General Motors days as Allison Engine Company and Allison Gas Turbine. Were purchased by Rolls-Royce, which was probably one of the best acquisitions they ever made in 1995. And it's been a great ride since. We power a lot of iconic platforms for the Department of Defense. Just to name a few, we're on all the variants of the C-130s. We're on the V-22 Osprey. We're on the Global Hawk and Triton. We're now on the autonomous tanker, the MQ-25. We're on the ship-to-shore connector. We provide the lift system for the Stovall variant of the F-35, the F-35B variant. And most recently, and I'll take a moment here to also thank Congressman Banks and his team for the incredible support, and this is getting into the second question of why Indiana. It is a support that we have depended on and can depend on without question over the years, both at the federal, the local, and the state levels. And that support has been incredible as we both support our legacy fleets, but also go after new applications. And we've had a pretty good run the last 4 or 5 years. We were selected by the U.S. Air Force to re-engine the B-52 nuclear bomber. We've actually got 3 engines on test right now. We'll be at critical design review here later this year. So that's going to be fantastic. Again, that's being developed, manufactured, assembled, and tested right here in Indiana. We've got controls work going on up at Purdue. It was mentioned earlier this morning. Even more recently, we were selected as part of the Bell team for the Future Long-Range Assault Aircraft for the Army. So we will be providing power and propulsion for that platform, and that program is well under its way. Even more recently, the U.S. Air Force selected Sierra Nevada Corporation, where we are providing critical mission equipment for the Survivable Airborne Operations Center, also known as the U.S. Air Force's Doomsday Aircraft. So again, could not have been possible with the support of the state of Indiana. And when I say that, it goes beyond the state, local, and federal government support. It's really a defense ecosystem in the state of Indiana, and that goes out into the universities and academia. It goes to the supply chain. It goes to small businesses, and it's just incredible on all fronts. I moved to Indiana 30 years ago. Actually, I live in D.C. now. I got drug out kicking and screaming about 3 years ago. But I was here for almost 30 years and did not want to leave. The people are phenomenal. The loyalty, the hard work, the innovation, it's an incredible place, and that rings true across the entire ecosystem. We've had an incredible relationship with Purdue for, I think, almost 7 decades now. Zucrow Labs, certainly the Hypersonic Ground Test Center. We are very proud to have been one of the founding members of that, and looking forward, very excited about opportunities with reusable hypersonics, small modular reactors, advanced microreactors, and the entire autonomous collaborative platform space.
Fantastic. And can I just say that F-35 lift fan that you guys built is the single most beautiful piece of engineering I have ever seen. I just want to put that out there.
Thank you. I agree.
Thank you. And Edward Cook, I think I should change again the introduction. So let me say a few words about Edward. He's the Vice President, General Manager at Ultra Maritime, located in Columbia City, Indiana. A job you've had since 2023, and prior to that, you're the Vice President of Airborne Systems at General Dynamics Mission Systems. So, and again, if you would tell us a little bit about what you do and why it's important.
Sure. Good morning. So Ed Cook. I'm from Ultra Maritime. I'm the Vice President and General Manager. I've took over that role back in November of last year, so relatively new to Indiana, home based in Fort Wayne, and our offices are out in Columbia City. So I'm also the president of what is known as Ultra Sonar Systems Incorporated out in Columbia City. We produce sonobuoys for the naval forces. Think of them as the underwater ears for our naval forces. For those who aren't familiar with sonobuoys, they're really sophisticated devices, in essence, that are used to track submarines and surface ships. They're deployed typically from an aircraft, but also can be deployed from a ship. And those sonobuoys are basically use sonar to detect those submarines and surface ships, and they send the information back up to a plane or to a surface ship so that they can identify the source, whether it's a adversary submarine, and use to detect and track them as well. So our company, as we look at the current geopolitical situation that we're all in, we find that our adversaries, specifically China and Russia, are advancing their submarine technologies, and as a result, we need to continue to innovate and improve the capability of our sonobuoys so that we can track and detect those submarines. To date, we have produced over 11 million sonobuoys out of our Columbia City factory. We produce about 250 to 300,000 per year, so think high volume manufacturing, but also very strong engineering expertise here in Columbia City as well. We currently are at 750 employees. About a decade ago, we were at 450, so we're at 750 now. By 2027, we expect to grow to 1,000 employees locally. So as the global threat increases and the demand for sonobuoys increases, so does our dependence on the resources here in the great state of Indiana. Why Indiana? I can honestly say, I mean, unlike John, I haven't been here for 30 years. I've been here for 11 months, and I can tell you, it's a hidden gem, and for multiple reasons. One, just a lot of great universities, from Purdue, obviously, to Indiana University, to Indiana Tech, just a lot of great universities that we can pull talented workforce from. In addition to that, we have strong congressional support. So in particular, Congressman Banks has been exceptionally supportive of our business, and that has helped support some of our growth, or most of our growth. In addition to that, Indiana is just, like I said, kind of a hidden gem. It's a great place to live, low cost to live in, lots of affordable housing for our workforce, and just pretty excited, to be part of this community now.
So if I can say, I actually resonate. I'm also a relatively new transplant to Indiana, and there were two things that brought me here. One, of course, was when President Meng Chang says, "I have a job for you," you have to say yes. Anyone who knows Meng, you don't say no to Meng. But the other was just the incredible support for national defense in this state, in this whole of state approach, government, industry, academia. So I absolutely resonate with you. So each of you has actually touched on some of the questions or you've already touched on some of the questions I was going to ask, which is, why Indiana? You've talked about that. You talked about the universities. You talked about the workforce. So tell me a little bit about your plans for the future. Where are we going at each one of your companies? Who wants to start?
Well, so we're in an exciting time here in our Fort Wayne-based business. We've tripled in size in the last 5 years.
Awesome.
Chris mentioned the company investment. Investment comes with a promise, right? The promise of the company to support that growth, and the promise of the business to repay that investment. And so far, so good. The work that we've done in missile defense has gone from $0 of revenue in 2018, and we've won contracts over $2 billion here since then. Our continuing work in environmental and weather monitoring has yielded over $1.25 billion here just in the last year as well. So our company and our business here is seeing tremendous growth, tremendous scale required for that, not only facilities. We've hired 50% of our workforce new over the last 30 months. So we're seeing this generational knowledge transfer that happens in a long-term business like ours, where you need to be transparent in the way you transfer that knowledge from person to person so that your customers can expect the same level of service tomorrow that they got yesterday, with a workforce that continues to evolve. Obviously, that evolution comes with technology evolution as well. So our strategy in technology has been to surgically focus on developing key pieces of technology building blocks, not charge our government customers multiple times for similar capabilities, but be able to take those key technology building blocks and put them together in different ways for variants of our space missions. And that's been a good, efficient use of our company dollars in research and development, and a good use of our government dollars in terms of those wins. It's gotten us to be able to create entire space vehicle satellite solutions that are exceptionally affordable compared to what they were just a few short years ago, which has engendered this proliferation that we're seeing in space now. And that what I would call revolution in space is really necessary for these evolving threats that we're seeing, not only in national defense, but also in sort of environmental change and the things that you have to do to evolve the way you look at natural and unnatural disasters. So it's a really exciting time for us. We continue to hire everyone. And we continue to scale our business in facilities, talent, but also in automated processes as well, where driving that automation not only in engineering through digital engineering, but in production through paperless manufacturing systems, a productionized approach to space that has never been seen before.
John Chadbourne, you want to say anything?
Yeah, so as I said, we're obviously looking at all things wheels, and there are some future programs coming up, and we're looking at how to make the vehicles we have now better. But one thing that we have been working on for quite some time now is, I'll call it wheel adjacent, because it's not really about wheels, it's really about artillery, and that's a technology called soft recoil. So I think what the Ukraine war has definitely told us is that towed artillery isn't going to be around very long, because you're not going to survive. So they've got to get those systems up on wheeled vehicles. And we've invested in a technology we call soft recoil. And if you want to see some really great videos, just Google YouTube, soft recoil, or Hawkeye, or Brutus, and you can see some really great videos of this technology that basically reduces the recoil on artillery systems by about 70%. And what that enables you to do is to take a very heavy gun and put it on a light truck. We've done that with a 105 artillery piece. We put it onto a Humvee, and we've done it with a 155. We put it onto a FMTV, a 5-ton truck. The Hawkeye system, the 105, we've actually have a system in Ukraine right now. They've tested it. They've actually put it into combat, and we're working with them right now on more systems to send over. But I really see that as a really exciting technology, because it is right now being applied to indirect weapon systems, but the technology itself could be applied to direct weapon systems as well. So just something we're really, really excited about in the future.
John, what does the future hold for Liberty Works?
Yeah, so, at the kind of platform or mission level, I mentioned very briefly hypersonics and nuclear energy. So if I look at the UK, our part of our defense business includes the submarines business in the UK. They've been providing the nuclear reactors for the Royal Navy for their nuclear subs for almost 70 years now. We've been leveraging that partnership, and through things like AUKUS, we are now involved in a lot of things nuclear. We have also stood up a small modular reactor division within the company, and we're actively working throughout the United States and certainly within Indiana, with an eye on Indiana, where things we think are very conducive to bringing nuclear energy into the state. Additionally, I'll mention we're on a program sponsored by the U.S. Army out of OSD that's called Project Pele. It's an advanced microreactor program, so we're working with BWXT. Honestly, I see great opportunities both with advanced microreactors and SMRs to play nicely together out in the future. So really excited about that space. In the hypersonics, our play is really around reusable hypersonics, looking at some of the ISR and strike missions and needs that may not be able to be met otherwise with the threats in the Indo-Pacific. So we're really excited about that. We think we've got some really clever technology to deliver that capability at lower risk, faster, lower cost. Certainly have been engaged with Purdue, again, the HGTC, and look, as things seem to be picking up speed in that space, no pun intended, maybe a little one.
Slightly intended.
Yeah, slightly intended. And the last thing from kind of the capability standpoints, you know, we invested $1 billion over the last several years in Indianapolis to modernize our facilities that were World War II vintage. Those were really done with an eye towards digital, towards artificial intelligence, towards cyber. And so really looking to leverage that, exploit those capabilities, bring in more and more talent. I think currently we've already got about 20% of our workforce in Indianapolis, almost 4,000 people are Purdue grads, and 20% are veterans. So we're, again, it's a great place to be and it's a great place to grow. So really looking forward to the future.
Great. And Edward, Peter.
I'll try to keep it quick, although I got to say, I'm listening to Rob, and for folks, most folks won't know this, but his son Alex works at Ultra Maritime as a program manager, as well as a very strong engineer, and all I hear is Alex when he's speaking, so it's pretty awesome. Didn't fall. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So at Ultra Maritime, we, for many decades, we were actually part of a joint venture with another company building sonobuoys for the U.S. Navy. Over the last few years, the DOJ had forced the dissolvement of that joint venture, and now we are competing, going head-to-head with that other company named Spartan, located in Florida. We are pretty proud to say that we've invested over $90 million over the last few years in our facilities, our people, and our product, all here in Indiana. And as a result, we are also far ahead of our competition and have been the first to get qualified on 3 of 5 variants of sonobuoys and are likely ahead on the other 2 as well, which is leading to additional contracts. So we sole source contracts right now for large quantities of sonobuoys for the U.S. Navy. And with that, I had mentioned we're 750 employees. We do about $250 million of revenue a year. We're growing to about 1,000 by 2027 employees. And we're also looking at the potential for an additional site for sonobuoy manufacturer. And so lots of opportunity here, especially with Ultra Maritime.
So last question, and then this is going to be our get off the stage question. So are there opportunities to bring more defense business to Indiana? And in particular, is there something that Congress can do to help make those opportunities happen? Who wants to take that one? And rapid fire.
Yeah, so yeah, of course there are opportunities. I think we're creating a hypersonic corridor here, right, with some common objectives in hypersonic defense and the hypersonic mission at large. So I do think we can certainly leverage that. And I'll echo what everyone has said. Congressman Banks and the Indiana delegation has been extremely helpful for our business in Indiana, our nation's defense, and the right levels of budget priority for us.
John, 30 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. Our objective is to build most of the military's trucks here in Indiana, and that's going to be the future for AM General.
Very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll just ring one more time on small modular reactors and nuclear. I think a lot of good work going on, legislature, support from the state, from Congressman Banks and others to help grease those skids for that. I think we still have a lot of work to do at the federal level just to get all the ducks in a row to make that possible.
Yeah, I also agree. There's lots of opportunity for us building sonobuoys. There's a need for a lot of small parts that go into sonobuoys, which supports a lot of small business in the local area. And Congressman Banks has been exceptional with his team of staffers, helping us to increase the budgets so that we can hopefully expand further in the location.
Very good. And I'll make that the last word. Gentlemen, first of all, thank you for all that your companies do, not just for the state of Indiana, but for our nation. That your missions are so vital. Thank you for what all of you do, and thank you for joining us on this panel this morning. It's been a fascinating discussion.